from Blanket. I'm glad to be here tonight. It's a good day to be a Lion. Everybody good tonight?
Good tonight, sir.
Except
I'm good.
stock market's like,
It's like a business, but
and work with me, man.
it's,
All right.
Thank you.
We have a great speaker tonight. His speaker fee was nominal, so we're happy that he didn't charge us a great
Extra
deal.
fried chicken?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, good meals. Tonight we have Mr. Mark Thompson with us. He's a co-worker of mine. A little bit about Mr. Mark. His title is the Coordinator of Equity Assurance and Student Mentoring. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I don't know what it means, but it sounds.
We were hoping we were going to find
It
out.
takes up a lot of space on a business card. Let's see, he's a former board member with the school board. He was on the board for 5 years. That's one term, I believe.
Oh, that's where I've seen that name.
5-year term.
President.
He was an employee of the board for 5 years, is an employee. He made a career change after 24 years with FedEx. Retired and moved over and did a lot of work with the Salvation Army here in town. Did that for 6 years. His focus is community outreach. He's also a pastor at Emmanuel Wesleyan. Got the privilege of working with him in some Leos this weekend. We unbagged and sorted clothing. Mark took a bus, went over to Christian Shelter, brought like 10 or 12 people over, and they picked out from the clothing that we sorted, us and the Leos, picked out the clothing, bagged it up, and put them on the bus and sent them back to Christian Shelter. So it was a good little fair, and I got to work with Mark on that. Mark has his master's in education. He has a BS in industrial engineering. He has an associate's degree in theology.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Amen.
Originally from Erie, Pennsylvania, but the most important part of all.
He's not a Redskin fan, is he?
No.
Not a Steeler fan, is he a Steeler?
Who would want to be a Redskins fan? No, actually, they came back.
do, right?
They're my second team. No, he's a Steeler fan. So please welcome. He's hanging on that Steeler attitude.
Out of way. Out of way.
Mr. Mark Thompson.
All right.
I'm going to come around the front if I can. Well, let me say thank you, Bob, for that introduction. I'm sorry. And President, so good to see you. And thank you for this invitation tonight. One thing I'm really proud of, last year this time, we'll go back a year ago in October. My whole world turned upside down. I went to my doctor's office, and she said, your PSA number is kind of high. I had no idea what that meant. And then she said, well, let's wait a couple more weeks and you'll go back and we'll test it again. She said, ooh, you need to go see, what do you call them guys? Urologist. So I went to that guy. And he said, ooh, your numbers are high. I think we need to do a biopsy. I had no idea what that, I thought only women had those. I went to the office, had the biopsy. The worst thing in my life, I thought.
You'll remember that forever.
I do remember it. 11 snaps. After 3, I was crying, and I said, just get it done. But seriously, I went through that, and then I was at stage 4 cancer, prostate. And he said, you have to get surgery right away. I had my surgery on January 13th last year. So this January 13th, my first year, PSA numbers didn't really go away too much. So now they have me on a new treatment called hormone therapy. And the reason I say that, the hormone therapy now, my wife really loves me even more because I have menopausal effects. So as I speak to you, if I start sweating, I get hot flashes. And when I get hot flashes, I sweat. I have man boobs. Have grown, so I go to the gym and try to look like I'm buff. And I'm very emotional because I have 2 boys. One just went to college, and the other one's a senior in college, and I cry every day about my kids being gone. So, but the best thing about it, I'm alive, and I thank God for that. So, and just being here a little bit, thank you for this invitation. I just want to talk a little about some things, and we're going to get to that mentoring part. You think this title was long. My title used to be Disproportionate Minority Contact Coordinator for the county. And what that meant is I worked with Department of Juvenile Services when we looked at the imbalances of youth of color that are in the juvenile justice system. And when we look at the scales are tilted, there's so many different ways of why there's so many youth of color in the juvenile system. And I'll come back and talk to you more about that. But I'm really passionate about working with our community and working in the community, working with people who don't have a voice. But I want to start off with this. There's a show that was on TV years ago called It's a Different World. I don't know if anybody ever even listened to it before. It's a different world. It's a different world from where we come from. And what I mean by it was a different world, if you look around now, and I brought some props, it is a different world. I know that some of you may know about this. When I pull this out, you remember this?
Yeah.
Some of you may have a pack right now.
Newport, I used to smoke
Yeah,
years ago.
but you know something? It's a different world. Because we've gone from this to what do we see kids walking around with now? These things called vapes, vapor. Now this is just a regular pen, but we've gone from packs of cigarettes where people used to put them under their sleeves to these vapor things that look like ballpoint pens that you plug in and you can charge. It's a different world. It's a different world. Do you remember, what did you used to play with the kids on the neighborhood?
Marbles.
Besides marbles?
Cowboys and
Cowboys and Indians. And do you remember, and please, I did this on purpose. Do you remember Cowboys and Indians? And I pulled this out and I brought my yellow gun. Because I didn't know what crowd I was dealing with. And if I pull out the black color one that looks, someone may shoot me tonight. Because I'm not really sure who has a concealed weapon permit.
Yeah.
But do you remember we used to play Cowboys and Indians? But now, it's not funny no more. These toy guns. It's a different world. Now people are getting killed over toy guns. Bob, come around. I want to use you for a second. The reason I'm using Bob is, do you remember this day, Bob? Hold that.
He's expendable?
When his wife used to call him back in the day, or try to reach him, and it's not that long ago. Bob had something like this called, he would take out his antenna, set it up, and then he would reach in and grab the phone. You remember what these were called? Bag phones. But now we've gone to highly advanced smart devices that do more than we can ever imagine. It wasn't that long ago when cell phones were bag phones that weighed a brick. And that's why we used to call them bricks, because they felt like a brick. It is a different world. However, how we deal with children, they're still the same. It's just different. Yes, we don't have bag phones anymore. We have cell phones. Cigarettes now are vapors. My mom in Erie, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, still writes a check when she goes to the grocery store. Drives me crazy. I said, Mom, we have these things called debit cards. I don't trust a debit card. But it's a different world, but yet you still have to pay for your products. Debit card or a check. It's a different world. Even though it's different, it's still the same. And what we're looking for, and what I'm looking for, and working with people in our community, is to understand that even though things may be a little different, it's still all the same. But how we handle our young people these days, we can't keep using traditional methods for contemporary young people. And when I come out and talk to groups, and I encourage you, hopefully I can get some mentors coming out of this group. When we talk with young people these days, don't ever say, well, I have nothing, I can't relate to them. Tell your story, share your story. Our children, you'll find out, are smarter than we are, but they lack wisdom. They lack the wisdom. They know how to do things, but they don't know how to do things properly. That's where the wisdom comes from. And sometimes wisdom is in age. You have to grow to experience different things. However, some of our young people aren't seeing past their teens into their 20s. When you ask them, what's your goal, what's your purpose, what do you want to do in life? They don't know if they're going to even be living into their 20s. So again, we have to give them some encouragement to let them know that, hey, there's more to life than just even the Eastern Shore. Do you believe I deal with people, and you probably know some, that have never been across the bridge. Or when they go on field trips, that's the only time some of our children actually see beyond the eastern shore. It's when they're in school and go on a field trip. So you see, we're dealing with different times now. And when we deal with different times, we have to deal differently with our young people. So what I'm encouraging you to do is sign up to be a mentor. Sign up to come into our school. Share your wisdom with our young people. You never know what impact you make on a young person's life. I want to share a story with you. Last summer, I was in my office, and let me put this away because I don't want to get antsy. Last summer, I was in my office, and this gentleman showed me a picture. And the picture he showed me was this picture. It was a picture of this gentleman. This is it's about 19 years ago now. He showed me this picture. And I looked at it and I said, okay, why am I looking at this picture? He goes, well, that's me. And some of you may know this gentleman. His name is Dave Harner. He works in our evening high school. He's with this young man here. His name is Robert. Let me tell you a little story about this. 18, 19 years ago, this young man was living at home with his grandmother. Classic example of where a lot of our young people that I work with, they live with their grandparents. His mother was pretty much on drugs. His dad was in jail. They were living with their grandparents and they didn't have much money. They lived over there by what is now Planet Fitness, was Super Fresh. So one day they said, hey, Robert, we want you to come with me to the store because we need to buy some food. So Robert, as a nice young man, said, okay, Grandma, we'll go to the store. But he said, I don't know why, because we have no money. So he went with his grandmother to Super Fresh, got a basket, was going down the aisle, didn't really understand why, because they had no money. And she said, Robert, I want you to go find somebody that looks like they have money and ask him for a couple bucks to get some bread. So Robert did, what a nice grandson. He walked around and he ran into this man, asked him for a few bucks. Man gave him $5 or whatever. They bought some food, got back home. Next week later comes, this young man went to Prince Street Elementary School, and we had all the kids in the auditorium to get paired with a mentor. Robert was in the gym, and he looks over and he sees Dave Harner. He gets ready to run. Dave goes, whoa, I know you from someplace. And the young man said, yeah, I was the boy you gave money to in the grocery store the other week. From that time, they became mentee-mentor relationship. They went by the school. All we were asking to stop by the school 45 minutes a week. You don't have to do much, just give a pencil, give encouragement. That's what Dave did with Robert. Through his elementary school, through middle school, through high school. Robert went on and left and went off, moved to Colorado, started working on his associate's degree. 2 summers ago, they showed me another picture. And this is the picture that really just blew my mind. Dave said, look at this picture. And it was this picture. Now, if I was in school teaching right now, I would say, class, what doesn't belong? Someone to laugh. It's okay.
The white guy.
The white guy. I'm being honest with you. I listen, Dave, what are you doing? Why are you there? Now, this is a picture of what?
A wedding party.
A wedding party. Here's the groom. Who stands next to the groomsman? The best man. Who's his best man? Dave, the mentor. After 19 years of just, when he gave the guy a pencil, I couldn't believe it myself. So I said, I don't believe this story. I had to call Robert myself. And I called him and said, Robert, unlike you, but why did you invite Dave? And he said, Mr. Thompson, you're missing the point. It's not about white or black. It's not about color. It's not about rich or poor. It's about a connection and a relationship on someone showed interest in me and encouraged me my whole life. And now he's working on his degree in college, and he has a family, has a child, and he wanted Dave to share that life. That's what it's all about. It's not about color. It's about getting that relationship with a child and just encouraging them along the way. Yes, it's a different world. We don't have bag phones no more. Kids are so advanced, but they need you to work with them to let them know, hey, here's how you do things. So I want to see you and give them hope, give them vision. I want to see you graduate. I want to see you walk across that stage. I want to see you get married. I want to see, and keep telling them that over and over. Because sometimes all the kids hear, a lot of the kids hear is what they can't do. But we need you to keep telling them what they can do, what you have available in you. So again, when you think about it, say, hey, I think I could be a mentor. 45 minutes a week. Just go into a school, we'll pair you with a student. And it's not a bad student. I gotta dispel that notion that you only mentor bad kids. No. How many of you have mentors in your business where you call somebody, ask them how they do things? So we pair you with a child, so there's someone outside their family who can encourage them and tell them, yes, you can. You can do more than where you are. You can. We want our children. We want our children. I want my children. I want my ceiling to be their floor, so they can continue to grow and go higher. So we look for you just to step up to be mentors if you can, to help us out. I appreciate the service that you do. The service is so valuable. When Bob came down last week, if you just saw the eyes of the people when they went from the Christian shelter, and they went in there and it was used clothes. It was like Christmas. They just up, and they appreciated somebody looking out for them. The service that you do, and I hear next year's 100 years, service that the Lions Club has, to do something for people who can't do on their own. That's what it's all about, working together. So again, I appreciate all the work that you do. I encourage you to come into our schools. Don't let the myth of what you hear on the news and people talk about how schools are bad. They're not bad. The crazy things that are happening in the news now with those robo-bombs and things that are happening, it's craziness. But our kids need you to come in to say, you are stable, we are stable. All their life they see this instability all around them. So we need people to come in and say, don't worry, things are stable. And things are good in Wycomico County Public Schools. But we need you to come on in and help us so you can be an advocate for a child. I appreciate this, I appreciate the food. You invite me back anytime, it was good. So I appreciate whoever the chef is back there. But most importantly, help me help our community be the #1 community. Yes, sir.
Mark, I saw you, WBSC interviewed you about the curfew for Salisbury.
Yes.
What do you think?
The curfew?
Do you think it'll help? Or what?
I said do it. Here's the thing with the curfew. The curfew came out. Do you remember when you were growing up and you were outside and you were like looking around saying, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And we used to throw rocks, do kind of things. Now kids are bored and they're looking around, and unfortunately we're living in a situation where in Wycomico County we are very poverty rich, if I could say it that way, community. Meaning, it's an oxymoron. We are very poor, but we have the richest people in the world here with our families who are really struggling to work. They're not home raising their children. Think about this. Any grandparents?
Yeah.
Any grandparents? Anybody's grandparent? I'm gonna ask you, how old are you?
Over mine?
Yeah.
68.
68.
Is that all? 68.
Huh?
68.
68. Think about
82.
this. Huh?
82.
82. No, but think about this. I wish I had an easel. At 13 years old, and we have 13 years old, a young lady has a baby at 13. In 13 years, she'll be how old? 26. That 13-year-old girl, that baby she had when she was 13 is now 13. She has a baby. Now think about this. What does that make that mother that's 26? Grandmother. Now, 13 years go by. That 26-year-old girl's how old now?
39.
39. That 13-year-old girl is now 26. Her 13-year-old girl has a girl. That makes that 39-year-old lady a what?
Great grandma.
And how old is she?
39.
13 years more go by. How old is she?
52.
How old are you?
68.
Okay, she's 52. They have a baby. Now what is she? A great grandma. And she's only 52.
Yeah, but these are social problems. They have to be solved.
Yeah, but
You have to break that chain.
break the chain. You're right. We got to break the cycle. We have to break the cycle.
The
Now,
parents need to be more responsible for their kids. My dog, I'm responsible for that dog. But yet, my kid can go do these things and I'm not responsible for him.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. Here's
I
the
am
debate.
right.
And here's a debate. Here's a debate when you talk about the curfew and this. And I'm in favor of it. If you really want to get, I think, I don't put this on TV. After 2 babies, it should be it. But yet our environment keeps going, the more, what really got me really upset was when we had a housing development. And a young lady went to apply for a housing development, won't mention the name. And they said, if you had 1 more baby, you could get that 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
This is what's happening in our society. We're enabling people not to do better. So when you talk about the curfew, I said, okay, here we are. We're dealing with generational curses where families, young people have not been trained on how to be a parent. They had babies. And when I told them at Prince Street the other day, we had this thing called the Watchdogs, Dads of Great Students. We had over almost 200 men at Prince Street Elementary School for this after school. It was unbelievable. I had them all stand up and I said, do not be a biological agent. Be a father.
Exactly.
Anybody could produce a
The
child.
male has to be responsible for his
Yes, but
sperm.
who is going to be there to teach them, to mentor, to lead them, to say, this is how we do things. This is how we need more people to step up. We need not only social organizations, we need churches. We can no longer preach inside our walls. We got to go out in the community. I'm getting to your point. We have to train up. It takes a village to raise a child.
I've read that.
But our village is sick, it's fractured, it's splintered. It's not the same village that we had where you knew your neighbors. We live in a transient population where people stay in an area for a few months until they get kicked out of their house and they got to move someplace else. So they move around. We see it in the school system. Kids move to different schools. So now, somehow we have to almost stop that dog chasing its tail. And it doesn't matter if you're black or white. Just say, stop. And now, here's what we're going to do. We need people, and it's going to be older, seasoned people, to say, okay, I'm going to take this young lady, women. I tell the older women, you cannot just sit home. You have to get out here and talk to these young ladies about if you raise your skirts or pull your skirts down or pull this thing up, the men will follow. You can't be such open to young men. But anyhow, we get to a point where we need to start training our young people. Parenting training. How are we going to do this? It's not going to be, they're not going to just fall into our laps and say, okay, I'm going to come for parenting training. Here's where I get to your answer on the curfew. I say, have a curfew. Set it up whatever time. If that child's out on the street, that means there's a problem in the home. Let's address that issue at home. So let's have what I called was I called it an evening reporting center. And I even picked, I said, let's have the one-stop job market open 24 hours a day. So at 11 o'clock, wherever the curfew is going to be set, if a young person's out on the street, pick them up, take them to the one-stop job market, feed them, because usually they're probably hungry anyway. We spend so much time feeding children because they really are hungry. We have a poverty issue. We have a hunger issue in this community. So feed them. Now, go out and find where that parent's at. Send the police out. Find that parent. Bring them to the one-stop job market. And at the one-stop market, what you'll have is you'll have social services. You'll have health department. We have a mental health issue crisis where a lot of the issues are mental health driven.
Why did they move it way outside?
Good question.
Outside town?
Well,
That
you know,
is ridiculous.
they moved, it is kind of ridiculous, but it's out there. So now, let's bring them all, have all the services under one roof. Health department, social services, the medical department, the schools, have a representative from all the social, or all the agencies at the one-stop, and do a complete assessment on that family. Find out what's going on. If they need drug addiction, send them at Hudson Health right then. Do what we have to do while we have a captive audience. Tell them about, yes, you're going to be doing parenting classes for the next 6 weeks. If you don't, here's what's going to happen. But we have to do something that's going to be tangible, and that's just a little slap on the wrist until we change this. And it's going to take, remember, we are dealing in generational problems. It's going to take a couple generations to straighten it out. It will happen. I keep saying it will happen, but we have to stop the dog chasing his tail and say, let's start working now for that next generation that's coming through. That's why I want to send young people into the elementary schools, send people to do mentoring. Start working with that family. We talk about working with the children. We got to work with the whole family. We beat up on the family so much, saying, well, they don't do this, the parents don't do that. Okay, we realize that. Now, what are we going to do to help that situation? We had this situation with Mayor Day today, excellent rebranding Salisbury. And like I told them right there too, I said, we can't rebrand Salisbury until we fix our poverty issue. Poverty drives a lot of different things. How your mental aspect of things, what we take for granted. I was just talking with Bob, and our conversation was about a snow blower and someone that had, what, a 7-car driveway? Mm-hmm. Okay. We had that conversation, 'cause I can relate to that. But what about a person who doesn't even have a driveway? And we're talking about a snow blower? I was in a meeting with somebody, and we finished the meeting at a community meeting, and someone, a distinguished gentleman, walked up to this lady and said, I bet you got to get home to cut your lawn. We got to cut your lawn when you get home. And I looked at him and looked at her. I said, oh, this is not good. This is not good. You have to understand who you're talking to. And so he goes, oh, you got to go home and cut your lawn. I mean, I got to cut my lawn. It takes me about an hour. Now, they live in a place where they don't have a lawn. So you see the disconnect that we have in our community? Think about the things, who you run around with, who your associates are. But think about our community and see how fragmented we are. And it really is. It is a social issue that needs to be addressed. We have to have those courageous conversations, those hard conversations. Anybody have another question? Because I can go on, because we talk about the race issue, and sometimes I even tell them that's why I was hired at the school board like that. You know, sometimes you just got to call it black. You got to say, I question my own people I work with. I say, just say black. Don't skirt around it. Just, if that's what it is, just say it. And now, how are we going to deal with it?
Well, I coached for 18 years.
Where at?
Huh?
Where at?
In Parkside, my last.
Okay.
And as far as, I did summer school for a number of years, and I'm a good friend with Dave Horner. I know Dave quite well. And I understand that last summer school, they made everybody responsible for, no one had it free last summer. And that was the best summer they've ever had as far as discipline, because everybody had
Stake in the game. Gotta get some skin in the game.
Yeah, and I remember years and years when I did it. I guess I did it for about maybe 14, 15 years. No one cared. The parents didn't care. The kids didn't care. They'd get mad, they'd leave, and that was the end of it. But now, since they gave a mistake, and you know, it was all on a sliding scale. I mean, nobody paid the same, but yet it really helped. And as far as the disciplinary situation, I feel if the kid, you know, if you don't want to send the kid home, have the parent miss a day of work and come in and sit with the kid in the in-school suspension day. I bet if the parent missed a day of work, I bet that would be the end of the discipline problem.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up, because it was, I did that one time. My son, he was late to Salisbury Middle 17 times in a row.
In a row.
And he had to go serve detention.
Yeah.
And I had it down set, so I knew at 7:25, local news came on, and then at 7:30, the Today Show came on and talked about what they're gonna have. And I used to always just sit there till past 7:30 to see what's gonna come on, and I say, okay, come on, let's hurry and go. And then we run, get to Salisbury Middle, it was bang, late. So I said, I'm gonna serve detention. And I sat in there, and I was on the school board at the time, and they said, oh, you don't have to do this. I wanted to see what it was like. Oh, it's terrible. Our discipline issues when we look at discipline problems, and this is part of what I do also at the school, we're trying to figure out what's the best option about this. Sometimes we say, if a child does wrong, suspend them, and that's what usually happens, or remove them from the situation. Removing them doesn't solve that issue. It just gets them out of your hair for a couple days. When you talk about a parent to say, well, I'll get the parent to come in, I had a picture in my room that was like this, hands up. A lot of our parents are like this. I don't know what to do. So now it comes back to how do we work with that parent, that whole family. Today I was in a meeting, and that's what my role is trying to bring that family in to have a positive experience with the school, even though they never had a positive experience. How can we bring it together? It's a difficult task. We're battling through what's the best way to handle discipline. We have a big thing now with kids with this vulgar language. Have you watched TV lately?
It's on TV.
I think the F-bomb is about the only word that doesn't really come out on TV. But if you listen to some radio stations and you can go to YouTube, and my young man who's doing the camera talking about YouTube, if you watch videos, everything you can think of, kids have access, and we say that kids have what, sponges, and they soak in things?
Person's brain.
Uh-huh.
Your brain.
So they're soaking
Wherever
in,
you feed it.
depending upon where they're living, that's what their language is. Then when they come to school, I know we talk about code switching. They don't know about code switching. This is what their life is. So how do we handle that situation? Don't accept it, but now we're going to have to say, here's how I speak, and here's why I speak like this, and go through that. It takes time, and that's where we're trying to do this. It's called restorative practices, where you got to bring people back to whole, and it takes time, and it's hard work.
But how about the 28 other kids in that classroom that's trying to get an education?
I'm not saying it's easy. If you pull them out, but you have to keep talking with them. Set the standard.
But you need additional staff to do that.
You do.
You can't do that with.
And that's where, this is where you all come in. This is where you come in. Got to go to the county council. And when we talk about needing more money, money comes from us, the taxpayers. And we're going to have to spend a little bit more money to get some results that we need. Let me answer right here, Chris.
I'll try to be quick here. It's as simple as building a house. It's a foundation. You could sink money in with more cops and people at 11 o'clock on the curfew, feeding them, guiding them, consulting and everything else. That's just more money. If you got a shitty foundation, I don't care how much you spend on the countertops, it ain't gonna be worth a damn. When I went to school, I dared not to call him Ed. He was Mr. Carrot. If I called him Ed, I was in a world of shit. You might period. Okay.
Young man, watch your language. So
with that in mind, at the home and at the school, discipline's gone. The only person that gets punished if a kid is suspended or in ISS, the teacher gets punished because they got to make sure he gets that or she gets that work made up. Parent gets punished because they got to come home or take off work early. There is no consequences no more. It's just like, and it starts, it's the foundation. You go to a preschool. My kid bites his kid on the arm. My kid gets 2 minutes in timeout. His kid's got a big ass bruise on his arm and teeth marks. What's my kid going to do next time he tries to take a toy from him? He's going to bite him again because he didn't get nothing. So if you don't get nothing at home, you don't get nothing at school, it doesn't matter how much money you spend, how much you feed them or not, how many times the police pick them up after 11 o'clock, it doesn't matter. You've got to have a foundation of discipline because the bottom line is, I need a license to go catch a perch in the park. I don't need a license to father no child.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to start when they're young at the foundation. Money ain't gonna fix it.
You are perfectly right, but to redo that foundation, and we're talking about retooling a society that is broken, and it's going to cost something to get it.
He just made his counsel other assistants. He could have took that money to give her the promotion and put it in some assistance in the schools to help with this.
Well, let me say on this. Let's put it up to say it's over.
Well, Pat, you can finish. Go ahead.
Okay.
I stood up for one more question, but
Oh, good.
he's always got three, so you
This is not an easy solution. And what I'll encourage people to do, let's have a dialogue, but let's talk about some tangible methods that we can do to try to stop that dog from chasing its tail. And right now we are spinning, trying to come up with so many different things. And I think we have the knowledge, and that's what I said at the curfew meeting. This community, we have the people. We just have to bring people together and come up, get it all on the table, and then let's come up with some tangible ways that we can work together to try to address the issue. And it's a generational issue that's going to take years to change.
Just to recap on line, Steve asked you a question about the curfew. One of my best friends growing up, and we thought we were grown at 18, but I can hear his father telling us, and it's true today, what he said 30 some years ago. What goes on past 11 o'clock, it fit to be talked about.
Well, I tell my sons that all the time too.
Josh Thompson, you hear him saying it.
And it's true. But how do we now instill this into a society where, we talk about music and movies and TV and all those kind of things, but we do have it. We have a societal issue, and it's going to take some strong people to put our heads together and work together to make our community better. And it's going to take some work. Like I see Mr. Wolf there. I got Chipman Center. If you notice the Chipman Center, I'm president of the Chipman Center, Cultural Center. The yellow building that you might bypass, you go right past real quick when you're going down 50 underpass. The wood was rotting because this building, it was 1838 was constructed, and it has been beaten in the wet weather, rotting out the boards. We have to pay money to put new boards up, not tear down the building, but to strengthen what we have. We can't tear down what we have, because a person, you can't do anything. You have to just deal with the people that we have. But we can put some reinforcements around it to build it up. And that's where we are right now. We need to build up our community to change where we are right now. And I think we have the people that can do that. Thank you.